And thanks again for tuning in to the Rob and Mike Show. As always, this is Rob.
That's Mike.
And we want to thank you guys so much for tuning in today. And really, we really want to say thank you so much for the outpouring of support that we've gotten. We absolutely appreciate that everybody has jumped in and liked the page. Please don't forget, right now, before we even get started, click subscribe. It really helps us out. The YouTube algorithm, it makes people know that people are watching us and enjoying the show. So many of you like us on Facebook. So many of you follow us. Please go ahead and click subscribe.
Just transfer over. Just go from
right
Facebook
to there. Just click. All you gotta do.
Just click.
It's like a click.
But it has been exciting. As you and I were talking about, folks, we are on episode 11.
I believe this is 11. Yes.
And you guys, with only 11 episodes, have gotten us up to 75 subscribers, which we love.
Wow.
We need that 25 more because, as we mentioned at the end of our last video, we've got some big things coming when we hit 100. We popping bottles, we talked about.
I know, right?
We popping bottles. And then we're doing a lot for you guys, like prizes, giveaways, trivia to win more prizes. So please, 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 please help us get to 100. We really appreciate all the support you've been giving us. Let's just keep that rolling.
We really appreciate it. I also want to give a quick shout out to a lot of the new people that have liked us. Around the country. Thank you, New Mexico, for showing up for us. Thank you, Delaware, for showing up for us. Idaho showed up for us.
Yeah.
Oklahoma showing up for us. California.
A couple likes I noticed the other day. Got some East Coast.
The East Coast is in on it too.
Pennsylvania, I think, or something like that. Yeah.
So hey, you guys, thank you so much. Today. So this is another, hey, like we said before, when you guys give us a request, we pay attention and we do it. This one is a good shout out to our dear friend Angela, who wanted us to just do kind of canceled shows, kind of a Netflix kind of a thing.
But with our spin on it.
Our little spin on it. So we're going to do our little spin on our top, oh my God, that got canceled shows.
Yeah.
Or shows that we think that you know that you're like, oh my God, that got canceled. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into it. Before we do, subscribe! Thank you. So this one was a hard one, not because there's so many shows that people love, right? And so it was really difficult because you kind of had to say, okay, what are the shows that I agree on, and then what are some of the iconic shows that were just canceled and everything.
And then, of course, unfortunately, because of the world we live in, a lot of shows got shut down once. Particularly that I'm going to talk about,
right?
Got shut down because of the pandemic and not being able to.
Right, so shows just couldn't shoot because of COVID, so they couldn't do the next season.
But Netflix, please stop making really good shows and canceling them in 2 series.
Well, yeah,
I'm done. Okay, there's my rant.
That's it. Some of these Netflix, come on, man, come on. And some of these shows aren't Netflix, but you know what? But they're just really great shows that I think a lot of people really enjoy. I'm going to start I'm going to start off, and the only reason why I want to start off with this one is because it sets the stage, right? I think this is sort of the white whale of cancellations. Everyone
is this what I think?
Right, this is the big one. Everyone's always it's almost like the legendary canceled show, right? That's really what it boils down to. So, honorable mention to Firefly. Everybody in the world's like, what happened? Why?
And that was one season, right?
I know, it was several seasons, and then they did the movie, and they never... the movie was hugely popular, the show was hugely popular, but it got canceled, and this is really funny, because Firefly was actually a victim of... It was kind of a victim of metrics, because at that point when Firefly was out, we didn't have... They weren't really watching... and didn't really have the ability to watch shows that people were either watching on demand or that they were recording, right? So there's all these people watching Firefly, but the metrics didn't show that
they were watching it while it was actually
right, and there wasn't, because we were still doing the Nielsen thing at that time, and so it got canceled because they just didn't realize how many people were watching it. So, honorable mention to Firefly. The show was awesome. I agree with all of you. Huge sci-fi fan. It's never coming back. We have to let go. We have to, you know what I mean? It's like that one where they're just like, your wife's not coming back, dude. She's just not coming back. You gotta let it go.
Dad went out for cigarettes.
Right. Your dad went out for cigarettes. I don't know.
Dad just went off. Sorry.
All right. So that's our honorable mention to Firefly. Yeah. We love that show. I understand. Blah blah blah. Okay. But that's kind of the white whale of canceled shows. All right. So I'm gonna let you. What's your like your first one you want to throw?
Okay.
And also these are not in any particular order.
So this is introduced me to who Kristen Chenoweth is, and this is before I knew that she starred on Broadway and Wicked and all that.
Right.
And there was a show called Pushing Daisies.
Oh my gosh! Yeah.
Okay, one. Stunningly visuals because all the colors, it was just amazing, quirky, dark humor comedy.
Right.
And I got into it halfway through the first season. Had to go back and watch. Was really excited to watch the second season, and then
gone.
And it was. And you know me, it takes a lot to get into a series because I've been hurt too many times. That like it's hard for me to get into a series, and also because shiny, and then I forget about it. But that was when I got into it. I thought it was really funny. It was dark humor. Kind of reminded me of this is a reach, but kind of humor of Dark Shadow back in the days where our parents were. And so I loved it because it was quirky and dark. And then 2 seasons and
then.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you guys? You comment. Pushing Daisies on your list.
And you might not even know about it because I feel like it flew underneath the
radar.
Right,
and if you haven't seen it, go ahead and watch that first episode or first season, so then you can be angry too. He's right. I watched it and that was garbage. Why?
I think it made it to 2. But how about you?
Okay, so my next two are actually we did the way back. Yeah. So these are really recent cancellations, and I'm going to start off my first two with Ozark,
which Angela,
I know you mentioned that directly, and I'm going to agree with you on that one. But I'm going to agree with you with a caveat here. I mean, Jason Bateman and the whole cast of characters in that show were outstanding. Ever since Jason Bateman came back,
and that little renaissance,
he has just been on fire. He is absolutely hilarious. I loved him in this show. I love the cast in this show, and I am very, very, very sad that this show got canceled. Now, the caveat on that is, I don't know if they knew they were getting canceled or they wanted to get canceled, but that last season was kind of poorly written. I'm just saying, there was points, because here's the thing, in any show, right, this is a theater thing, right? In movies or theater or anything like that, we ask for people to suspend their belief, right? We want you to just be like, this isn't real, but we ask you to say, okay, this is real.
Suspend your disbelief.
Right, suspend your disbelief. That's it's a theater movie thing. It's a suspension of disbelief.
Yeah.
The problem with it is, in the last season, they just asked a little bit too much on the suspension of disbelief. Because there were points in the last season where you're just like, no, they did. No. I'm so sorry. They did not get out of that situation.
And see, this is a show that
you didn't really watch. They just got a little bit too. They got a little bit too far on, they somehow, it was... I mean, there were situations in the last season where you're just like, yeah, I guess if they have angels and miracles that happen, like that, but... So, I don't know. I mean, yes, I missed the show. Yes, I agree with you. It was a great show. I'm really sad it got canceled. I don't think that the last season... I don't think they did enough in the last season to avert being canceled. That's all I'm saying.
So, I'm going to stick with Netflix, and this is a show that I got you into... And really mad it got canceled because this last season they were supposed to go out on this last season.
Right.
Which is Glow. And see...
Okay, yeah.
Glow... Yeah. Okay, so Glow to me was awesome because as a kid, I remember staying up late nights on Saturdays and watching the original Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling on, Channel 9 at 12 o'clock at night.
And it was so cool seeing them. They did a lot of homage to a lot of the characters that were from the original Glow. And Glow was. I mean, it was because it was that.
Oh, it was
cheesy goodness, but it was that wrestling show that was, I don't know, it was better than the men. I don't know, women do a better job at so many different things than men do. Yeah. And Glow was especially back in the early days of when Vince McMahon was first getting everything started.
Yeah.
The women were better. The women were more entertaining. Oh, yeah. And it's funny because you have that whole sort of soap opera drama that the men's show has now. And in the beginning, the men's show did not have the kind of drama that the women's show did. The women's were much more interesting to watch. I mean, so it was a great homage to going back and
it was such a good show. And once again, folks, it's hard for me to get into TV shows.
Right.
And this one, I started watching and I was like, Mike, you've got to watch the show. You might remember this growing up. And they kept, and this is one where each season was killing it, and they weren't falling off.
No, they weren't.
And this one was officially lost to the pandemic, unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately, that one was lost to the pandemic.
Yeah, that one hurt because they was.
And I know, and I can't remember her name right now, but the lead actress in that who I've loved, she was in Community, which is just fantastic, and I really appreciate so it's really great. If you haven't gotten into Glow, I know it's going to be canceled, and you're only going to get so far. But every season of it is worth watching. It is really hilarious. So go out, watch Glow. That one was super funny too.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. That one was a good one. All right. So my next one. Now, oh god. Okay. Now, I have two parts of this.
Mm-hmm.
I understand why people are upset that this show was canceled. Okay. I personally used to. This is one of those I used to love this show. Right. And so I'm going to say this. I understand that you're upset that this was canceled, but after 15 seasons, goodbye Walking Dead. I know you could care what. So I used to love The Walking Dead. I used to religiously. You know how much
I used to watch with you, but by season 6, I just
here's my problem.
Dropped off.
Right. So here's what happened with it. I understand that people are upset that it's canceled right now, right? And I get that, and that makes complete sense to me. But the problem that I have with that is,
but isn't this their final season?
It was. I don't know if it was supposed to be their final season necessarily. I think that they could have run that show for a really long time. I think the problem is that a few seasons back, and this is one of those really things that people talk about on Facebook. And so I'm going to say this. Go ahead and comment down on this because this is a really great question. So for you. When did you fall off with The Walking Dead? Because I gotta be honest with you, when they introduced the Negan character, and you were already out of the show by this point, but when Negan comes in, right, it really was like a revitalization of the show was what they were attempting to do, right? They're like, we need a bigger, badder enemy than the governor, and we've got to do something here in order to, and it worked. It was a super, the 2 seasons or whatever of Negan were super, super, super exciting. It was a new enemy. The guy who does Negan is actually, I think, from the Seattle area, I believe. Yeah. Really, it was a great, 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 great introduction. Here's the problem. So, and you guys, and I know you may agree with this or you don't have to agree with this. I fell off of the show, and I think a lot of people are going to say that they fell off the show at this exact same moment. So, we get to the end of the whole Negan sequence, right? And during the entire end of the Negan sequence, as you guys know who have watched the show, and if you haven't, there's 15 seasons. By the time that you get there, you'll forget what I said here. But, so at the end of the whole Negan sequence, we have Carl dies, who is Rick's son, which we all adore, right? So, first you're like, are you you killed Carl? Now, that's fine, right? I get it, main characters die. But then, at the end of that entire sequence, Rick doesn't kill Negan, and he doesn't even let Maggie kill Negan. At that point, I literally, when they end that episode, I was like, I am done with this show. Are you kidding me? Like, that whole thing with, because Carl writes this letter, we need to learn to be peaceful and live with each other. No, Negan's supposed to die. And that was what I'm yelling at the screen, no. And then I'm like, because Rick doesn't kill him. I'm just waiting for Maggie to just be like, Papel! Or something. Run across the field with a machete. Something. Yeah. But they give us no, we're just going to put him in jail and learn to live with peace. F you, Walking Dead. That's why people walked away. That was rude. That was, you got it. That was not fan friendly. That was not fan friendly, and you deserve it. And for those of you that are upset about the show ending, it was time, and they did that to themselves.
I jumped off that. I jumped off that ship. I jumped off that ship. Not that I didn't dislike the show, but it was just like, you ever watch a show that you're into, and then you start missing seasons, and you're just like, I don't really
need to go back. And then you're and you convince yourself that you're not watching it just so you can marathon it at the end, and then the season ends and you never marathon it because you're like, man, I don't care.
That was Walking Dead for me.
Agreed.
I got ones that did last a little bit longer, but what's even worse sometimes is a show that lasts longer, but then never gets a season finale.
Okay.
So, one of them, I love the Wayans. I wish I was a Wayan. There's some funny people. I don't know how many people remember this, but the Wayans Brothers, which I thought this show was funny, and then they had their seasons and then was done.
It
never got a season. It never got a season.
It wasn't really. It was a funny show. I don't know.
At this beginning,
We're
it's
happy. Yeah, that you know the intro.
Give
Like,
me
it was
a high five.
and it was a very, very funny show. That is very.
I mean,
sad.
it was very black centric.
It was. Which happens all too often is I think that's the other thing too is that there are a lot of shows where the entire black community is watching it, but because because the black
Middle
community
America is
right.
that.
But Middle America is not watching it, right? And so you've got all these, and so they've got millions of people watching the show, but they never quite reach that millions of people. So so for those of you out there that like happen to see characters like that and you want to watch it, please pay attention to those shows. That again, just like subscribing to us, it helps them out.
Yeah.
I actually my next one is actually kind of a follow up in the same sort of reasoning that it got canceled because it was a very black centric show. And although they had an incredibly loyal audience, their audience never got large enough for the show to really, really take off. And that's going to be Luke Cage. I really enjoyed the show. It was Luke Cage. We just did the blaxploitation episode.
Yeah, which I had of.
Right,
Cage
and you had Luke Cage on. You had Luke Cage on that one, and that was a hard one. And I think it was a hard one again because it was a very loyal following, but the following just wasn't large enough. I thought the show was really well written.
I think it's one of the better of what Netflix was doing with Marvel, and on that one, all of them got an axe, and that whatever movie with all the Netflix characters together did not help any of those series because
it did that movie.
No, I don't think it is. I don't think it is as awful as everyone said, but it was kind of
no. But I mean, it was man. Yeah, that was the thing. they Luke, and they brought in Daredevil, and they brought in Jessica Jones. They brought in I think a couple other ones, and it just fell flat.
It was Netflix trying to do their Avengers.
It was like the small Avengers thing with these low key characters, and it just didn't really.
Now I'm going to talk about a really weird one, and I love quirky shows, and this don't even think it lasted a full season, and you probably never heard of it. It's called Powerless, and it had Alan Tudyk in it, which anything Alan Tudyk is in, I'm down for because he's there. A little Firefly reference. Yeah. Had Vanessa Hutchinson. Had Ron Funches, who, by the way, if you've never seen Ron Funches, watch his comedy. He's hysterical, and basically it was about living in a superhero world, but this company kind of built stuff for people who weren't, like they were like if Batman had his own IKEA. Yeah, like they went to this, and it was. Don't get me wrong, it was dumb, but it was funny. It hit me just right. It was just it was funny dumb, and I knew when I got into it, I was like, I'm going to enjoy this now. And another one to go piggyback on that, which I'm really mad got canceled, and I loved because I love Rashida Jones, was Angie Tribeca.
Ooh.
And I loved it because I am of the age who was raised on Airplane and Top Secret, and this is what it was in the TV show. It was a homage to the Police Squad. It had all that.
Yeah. And
there's that one just, oh man, Angie Tribeca. If I needed a good laugh, that was good. And it had a great, it's Rashida Jones, so
it's gonna be that.
She's going to kill it. So to piggyback on the Powerless, and I think that's the last one I really want to talk about. But Angie Tribeca, that I kept waiting because they didn't, they were stringing along. I'm like, did it get? Okay.
Almost.
Yep. It got canceled.
Yep.
So.
Okay, so before I have one more. I have one more because this one's like my personal, this is my I'm angry. Because this one was one of my favorites, and I'm really mad about it. Hey, you guys, so let's start the conversation here. Down below in the comments, what are your oh man, I'm so sad they canceled this one. Let's talk about it on right down here. And but before we let you go, my top, and this one made me sad because it was so good, and if you guys don't get a chance, when you get a chance rather, go check this out. It was Salvation. Salvation was to give you the idea of what the show is that basically the Earth is going to end. It's one of those situations in which it's the meteor's coming and everybody's going to die, and we shoot the missiles at it and nothing happens. We send out a ship that fails, all this other stuff, and so they're gonna so then we find and so how do we save humanity shows, right? Mm-hmm. And it was really well written, really super exciting. Got 2 seasons and gone.